It's a warm, overcast morning on March 29th, 2022, and we are set up at a private crossing alongside US Highway 380 on the far east side of Farmersville. On this particular day, the goal was to set out and find the daily IDAT fresh out of Wiley rolling through this spot east of Farmersville. However, we also went out with the anticipation that luck would not be playing on our side. And as expected, our anticipation became a reality, as the IDAT went by our spot roughly 30 minutes before our arrival. After roughly 2 hours of waiting, we were greeted by the daily IATDA NS219 racing by with a pair of NSGE motors up front. This particular edition of the IATDA packed only 60 cars with 252 axles, only half the length of a 496 axle behemoth that we had seen back in October. We then decided to start making course towards Forney and scope out some action on Union Pacific's Mineola sub. However, with a well-known spot by KCS rail fans across the area already being on the way down, we decided to snag the IATDA one last time, as they round the bend through Copeville at track speed, with the crew from Shreveport preparing to begin their final approach to Wiley. Having now shifted down to the Mineola sub, we had just barely missed a westbound intermodal passing through a speed restriction in Forney. With this in mind, we made a course for Mesquite to try and get ourselves back out ahead of it. Knowing full well we had already gotten out ahead of it, we made course for a grade crossing roughly 5 miles east of the train's regular crew change point. Just below Sunnyvale alongside Highway 352, we find our intermodal in the form of the daily ZAILC racing into Mesquite for its crew change before continuing on to Sweetwater and eventually all the way to California. Skipping a couple hours ahead on the east side of Dallas, Amtrak's Texas Eagle number 21 and the ZAILC that we had seen in Sunnyvale have cleared the block for an eastbound intermodal. This train would pass us in the form of the daily but typically evasive overnight ZLCAI from California to Jacksonville, as a rather dirty EMD SD70AH takes the charge of 4 Armor Yellow Union Pacific motors. We then decided to take a break from our typical heavy haul freight action and scope out something that we almost never shoot, the Trinity Railway Express on the west side of Irving. Back in the middle of December and into early January, CSX, Union Pacific, and BNSF were in the process of hauling 2 EMD F40PHs over to the Trinity Railway Express. Although the locomotives were delivered into Irving by way of the BNSF back in January, the testing of these new F40PHs didn't begin until early March. TRE currently has a fleet of just 11 locomotives. From 1996 until 2011, the TRE fleet included diesel multiple units, in the form of 13 Budd RDCs built in the 1950s for Canadian Pacific, Canadian National, and Boston and Maine, purchased used from Via Rail Canada in 1993. All were remanufactured by GEC Alstom in Montreal, Quebec. They entered service in March and April 1997, after trains leased from Amtrak and the Connecticut Department of Transportation temporarily provided initial TRE service when the RDCs were not ready in time for the inauguration of TRE service in December of 1996, and thereafter provided all service for the line's first 2 to 3 years. They remained in service for about 14 years, with the last cars being taken off of TRE service in March of 2011. In 2010 to 11 of the 13 cars were leased to Denton County Transportation Authority for operation on the A train. They were returned in 2012 and placed in storage at the TRE shops in Irving, Texas. As an inbound commuter train rolls into the West Irving station with an F59 PHI, an outbound strolls out to Dallas with one of the 2 F40 PHs that were delivered in January 2022. Thank you all for watching this proud presentation of the North Texas Rail Productions. Don't forget to leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And also feel free to drop a comment on what you would like for us to cover next. And until next time, thanks for watching. This video is copyrighted by Ryan Farkos of the North Texas Rail Productions 2022, all rights reserved.